Imagine standing in a crowded harbor in the year 1602, watching massive wooden ships disappear into the horizon, carrying the hopes and fortunes of an entire nation. Back then, if a ship sank, an entire family's wealth sank with it, but a group of revolutionary thinkers in Amsterdam decided to change the rules of reality forever. They created a system where you didn't have to own the whole ship to get rich. You could just own a piece of the journey. This was the birth of the stock market, the most powerful engine of wealth and power ever created by human intelligence. Today on Finance Vibe, we are taking you on an epic 60-minute journey through the centuries to uncover how a simple piece of paper evolved into a multi-trillion-dollar digital web that dictates the fate of nations. We are going to see the triumphs, the devastating crashes, and the secret mechanics that allow the elite to grow their fortunes, while the rest of the world watches from the sidelines. Before we pull back the curtain on this incredible history, make sure you hit that subscribe button and tap that notification bell, because at Finance Vibe, our mission is to give you the financial literacy the traditional school system never wanted you to have. If you're ready to master the game of money, give this video a thumbs up right now to help us reach more people who are tired of being left behind by the system. The story of the stock market doesn't start with computers or high-speed fiber optic cables. It starts with the smell of salt and spices in the Dutch Republic. In the early 17th century, the world was obsessed with the spice trade. Nutmeg, cloves, and pepper were more valuable than gold, but getting them from the East Indies to Europe was a suicide mission. Storms, pirates, and disease meant that most voyages never returned. To solve this, the Dutch East India Company, or the VOC, did something that had never been done before. They asked the general public to fund their voyages. In exchange for their guilders, the people received shares of the company. This was a radical departure from the way the world worked. For the first time, a baker, a blacksmith, or a maid could own a piece of a global empire. The Amsterdam Stock Exchange was born in a bustling bridge over a canal where men shouted prices and traded these papers. It was chaotic, it was loud, and it was the first time in history that capital was democratized. This shifted the power from the monarchs and the church directly into the hands of investors. As the VOC became the most valuable company in history, reaching a valuation that would be worth nearly $8 trillion today, it proved that the collective power of small investors could change the world. As the concept of the stock market spread across Europe, it eventually landed in London. But the British had their own way of doing things. Instead of formal buildings, the first London stockbrokers met in coffee houses, specifically Jonathan's Coffee House and Exchange Alley. These were smoky, loud places where people from all walks of life gathered to gossip about ship arrivals and company profits. This era gave birth to the first great financial bubble, the South Sea Company. The British government granted this company a monopoly on trade with South America, and the hype was incredible. Everyone, including the genius Sir Isaac Newton, poured their life savings into it. But the company had no real business. It was all a marketing play. When the reality set in that the ships weren't bringing back gold, the bubble burst. Newton famously said he could calculate the movement of stars, but not the madness of men. This crash led to the Bubble Act, which restricted the creation of joint stock companies for over a century. It was a harsh lesson that the market is driven as much by psychology and fear as it is by math. While Europe was dealing with bubbles, a new nation was being born across the Atlantic. In the late 1700s, America was a startup country with a lot of debt and very little cash. To handle the trading of government bonds and bank stocks, a group of 24 brokers met under a buttonwood tree on Wall Street in New York City. They signed the Buttonwood Agreement, promising to trade only with each other and to charge a fixed commission. This humble meeting under a tree was the literal foundation of the New York Stock Exchange. In those early days, Wall Street was just a dirty road with a few small buildings, but it was hungry for growth. As the 19th century progressed, the Industrial Revolution changed the game. Suddenly, the market wasn't just about spices or government debt, it was about railroads. Railroads were the tech stocks of the 1800s. They required massive amounts of capital to build tracks across the continent, and the stock market was the only place that could provide that kind of money. This was the era of the robber barons, men like Cornelius Vanderbilt and Jay Gould, who manipulated stock prices, fought for control of companies, and built massive fortunes while the rules of the market were still being written. By the early 1900s, the stock market had become the heartbeat of America. The invention of the ticker tape machine meant that for the first time, people outside of New York could see stock prices almost in real time. This changed everything. It turned the market into a national obsession. The 1920s, known as the Roaring Twenties, saw the rise of the retail investor. Ordinary people started buying stocks on margin, which means they were borrowing money from their brokers to buy more shares. This created a massive feedback loop. Everyone thought the market would go up forever. But on October 24th, 1929, now known as Black Thursday, the music stopped. The crash of 1929 didn't just wipe out bank accounts, it wiped out the confidence of a generation. It led to the Great Depression, where unemployment hit 25% and bread lines stretched for miles. This disaster forced the government to finally step in and create the Securities and Exchange Commission, or the SEC. Their job was to make sure the game wasn't rigged. They forced companies to be transparent and told brokers they couldn't just gamble with other people's money. This was the birth of the modern regulated market we see today. After World War II, the stock market entered a new phase of massive growth. The American middle class was booming, and through pension funds and the 401k, the average worker became a participant in the market once again. But the real revolution happened in the 1970s and 80s with the introduction of computers. Before this, every trade was done by hand on pieces of paper. Computers allowed for faster trading and more complex data analysis. This gave rise to the quants, the mathematicians who used formulas to find tiny edges in the market. In the 90s, the internet took this to the next level. The dot-com bubble was a repeat of the South Sea bubble, but on digital steroids. Any company with a .com at the end of its name saw its stock price soar, even if it had no revenue. When the bubble burst in 2000, it was a reminder that the basic laws of finance still apply. Eventually, a company has to make a profit to be worth anything. This brings us to the modern era of finance vibe, where algorithms and artificial intelligence execute trades in microseconds. Today, the stock market is a global 24/7 nervous system. High-frequency trading machines compete for fractions of a penny, and retail traders use apps on their phones to challenge the giants of Wall Street, just like we saw with the GameStop saga. Looking back at this 400-year history, one thing is clear. The stock market is the most successful tool ever created for moving capital from those who have it to those who can use it to build things. It has funded the railroads that cross the earth, the medicine that saves lives, and the technology that allows you to watch this video right now. But it is also a mirror of human nature. It reflects our greatest dreams and our darkest greeds. As an investor, your job isn't to beat the market, but to understand its history so you don't repeat its mistakes. Wealth is built over decades, not days. At Finance Vibe, we believe that the more you know about the past, the more you can control your future. We are currently in a new era where decentralized finance and AI are rewriting the rules once again, and those who don't stay informed will be left behind. You have the power to participate in the greatest wealth creation machine in history, but you must do it with your eyes wide open. We have covered a massive amount of ground today, from the coffee houses of London to the high-speed servers of modern New York. This history is your roadmap to understanding how the world really works. If you found this deep dive valuable, please share this video with a friend or family member who wants to start their investment journey but doesn't know where to begin. Knowledge is the only asset that no one can take away from you. We want to hear from you in the comments below. Do you think the stock market is more dangerous now than it was in the past? Or do the new regulations make it safer for the average person? We read every single comment, and your feedback helps us create better content for this community. Thank you for spending this hour with us here at Finance Vibe. Stay curious, keep learning, and we will see you in the next deep dive into the world of money.